And one of the things we did was we were working to. We had some other hardware we were working with, and we're basically bringing camera feeds over the facility's network, right? And we found ourselves, as I'm setting this thing up and getting ready to go for a live feed, and I'm looking at things and realizing, usually when you see me on this show, if you see my video, typically it's going through one of these things if you're on visual with us. This is a Blackmagic intensity shuttle. This is the Thunderbolt version. It's pretty much deprecated in our, like, we don't really have any reason for this because the new MacBooks and everything. But it used to be I'd have one of these for each camera back in the day. But also, I mentioned the ATEM production studio. If you follow my Twitter, that's how we do the multicams. It goes into the device like this to this computer under this desk I'm sitting right now. So I'm setting up, and we're getting to it, and for whatever reason, the boxes that we're using bumps everything up to 1080p. I was like, okay, no problem. So I look, and I'm like, nothing's working. Nothing's working. And I look these things up. These things top out at 1080i. This is a problem with a lot of our hardware that isn't brand new, by the way. A lot of things are topping up at 1080i. That's interlaced instead of progressive. Most of the stuff that you watch on television should be on a 1080p, I believe, these days. And I won't get into interlace versus progressive right here. So basically, I was just a short step away from the thing not working, and this like professional hardware that I've been using for years and years was not worthy of what we were trying to produce this week at the Auto Drive Challenge. So I'm like, oh God, I'm stuck. This thing needs to stream this afternoon. You're not picking these up at the store. Okay, this is something you have to order off of Amazon if they're in stock. It's professional equipment. So I'm like, okay, what can I get at a Best Buy? Okay, it's always the question when I'm short something. What can I get to patch this at a Best Buy? It's the closest thing to a Radio Shack I have for my needs. So finally I'm looking, and I'm like, man, if I had my Elgato, I've misplaced my Elgato somewhere over the last year. And I am like, if I had that, I could plug this in and everything would just work. So I started looking things up, and I found, and I couldn't get a new Elgato because they're the USB-C, and we're still using this computer. It doesn't have USB-C, but I think I'm buying a card soon. So I came across the Camlink 4K. Now, I've been using these $12 versions of basically the same thing. If you're on visual, this is basically just a USB dongle, and it will take a 4K, up to 4K HDMI feed. So the idea is you're going to take your professional camera, maybe you got a DSLR still cam that does video that you want to plug in and make your Twitch feed to look a little better. That's the intention for this. That's basically intention for this. You see there's a nice camera. Well, actually, that looks like a GoPro on the back of the box there, right? So if you got a nice camera that's better than a webcam, you're like, well, I just want my video to get plugged in here and it'll work and all that stuff. This is it. It turns it into webcam. In fact, this video of me that you see right now is coming to you through this device. So it works, and it worked for the entire week. It was something like $115, I think we paid for it. I think it's a few bucks off. It might be like about $130 or so retail, but yeah, picked it up at Best Buy. Set up the in-store pickup. Sent my lovely wife, who saved my skin a few times this week by, hey, go get this. We need this. Like as we get on site and realize certain things don't work, which is always happening. I mean, this is it's one of those, like, you think you prepare for everything, you start connecting things and realize, oh no, this doesn't work the way that we tested it or at home versus tested it last time, and those kinds of things, or this device doesn't work. It is just a lot of variables, and this was a nice thing to throw at it, and it's working. In fact, since I'm not using the Blackmagic ATEM to bring all the camera feeds in, I'm coming in over the Elgato Camlink, and then our friends here, like Riz, everybody on the Zoom call is coming in over the Blackmagic Intensity. So we're double slinging our input devices here in the studio for this evening in our not completely set back up situation. So, but everything's working flawlessly, and I mean, let us know if anything looks different this week. I'm hoping the intention is nothing looks different than if we had the much more expensive hardware under the desk. Like, okay, is the $2,000 piece of hardware taken out of the equation? What can we do? But I mean, that also shows how far we've come with a lot of these things. So this is again recommend if you just need to kind of plug that camera in, right, to your device, like alongside your whatever you're doing for gaming or something like that. I don't know, Riz, if it's something that's been on your radar before this.
Honestly, like I really want to get into upgrading stuff like that. I don't know how much uh, my stuff can take,
Right.
so I'm kind of like trying not to push it too much, trying not to like do too much of that. But yeah, like I'm looking at the stream. It's coming up pretty good. Like
Good. Good.
but I am like the way you talk about it makes me want to try it out for myself.
So the biggest thing, and I don't know, so if you've ever joined us as a guest on our Zoom calls, I
Mm-hmm.
have like a $12 video dongle that's basically the same thing, and that's how we shoot our video back out. Like we duplicate what's going through the switcher that's not here right now, and that's what spits back out so Zoom calls can see what's happening, right? It's like see what the shots look like. They don't have that
Mm-hmm.
tonight with this current setup. So basically, it's a $12. So that's a $12 version of this, and we did have to use it for one of our streams until we got this. And I'm like, I know I can't trust this thing all week, right? It's a $12 video thing. There's no way I can rely on this for very important shots on a very important project. When I was using the $12 version, Riz, so you're talking about how much your
Mm-hmm.
computer can take, the CPU was near maxed out on this production computer
Oh,
using that dongle, that $12
huh.
dongle. Then you throw the $120 dongle at it, and the reason this is so expensive is because the processing is being done on this device. So so for you that you have your computers, your phrase is going to only take so much. This is what you need. This could potentially check your specs, but this could potentially help you get a little more life. When the Elgatos are really good about, like, there's a reason
Mm-hmm.
they're $150 or whatever, because the
Yeah.
processing is happening on there. It's taking the load off of your CPU versus it's actually doing the conversion for you, like that it needs to do, versus like the cheaper model is just like, yep, I converted it. Here you go. Have fun, CPU. Like that's basically it. So.
Don't throw your dongle around, Sorg.
Oh, my dongle's in working right now. This is just the box.
Oh,
So,
that's the box. Okay.
I was trying not to be violent with that.
And
So,
I don't know if you'd even be able to find one anymore. I found one for $30 on eBay.
Cool.
But Elgato used to sell the Turbo 264 HD, which, Sorg, you're talking about taking the workload off your device, right? So they used to sell this device that was literally just an H.264 like encoder on a USB like stick that you could direct like any video encode decode to, and it would take all the heavy lift off of your CPU and shove it over to this specialized. That's all it did, right? All it did was encode and decode, and I would use it constantly to compress MPEG video from large format. I mean, it worked extremely well. What I don't know is, did they keep the drivers up for it?
yeah.
But even if you're looking at cheap solutions to kind of offload that work, just like that device has it embedded.
That's what all these devices do, basically, right? Like everything from the high-end Blackmagic box that I have here, the Ultra Studios that we have a couple of around here in different formats. Thank you, Thunderbolt and New Mac. The biggest thing for me, I know this happens with the Blackmagic, and I believe this also happened if I wanted to get my HD60 Elgato, that's the old USB, and not the USB-C that you featured on the show several weeks ago. I do not believe that will work driver-wise with the latest Mac OS. These things get deprecated pretty bad when we go through Mac OS versions. So your shelf life on the Mac side could be problematic. So that is something to watch out for. I don't think these work anymore, like at all. Even if I got the Thunderbolt adapter, for these are Thunderbolt 2s. So I had to go get USB-C stuff in order to keep using stuff. So I mean, it's kind of a it's an unfortunate thing. Your shelf life's not going to be so good with the adapters into Macs, but when they do, I mean, when you get them, they're going to work. you know. So I, although I have,
Unless it's the
I have
Elgato.
issues with, I do have issues with how problematic Blackmagic devices are, but again, once they work, they are solid, right? So, but that's that. So yeah, I'm seeing the Elgato 264 HD, and again, I think that's just an earlier version of what you're getting with this Camlink 4K. Like these, it's basically, I think, the same thing from the looks of things.
Just be careful as a Mac owner. Do not try to pick up their newer top of the line 4K 60s Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4K HDR capture, which will also capture to an SD card. For some weird reason, unless it's changed in the last couple months, there is no Mac driver for it.
If you're doing anything video with Mac, be very, very, like, research the device for sure. And I haven't tried this thing on the Mac, by the way, but it does have a Mac logo on the back, so I'm hoping that means it says Mac OS Sierra 10.12, and maybe this is important for you there, Riz. 4th generation quad-core Intel i5 CPU or comparable, and GPU, it's recommending. Yeah, this computer has an Intel graphics card, by the way, and it's doing NVIDIA GTX 960 or better, AMD RX 470 or better. So I don't know. So take that for what it's worth. Those specs, I can't tell you I can't keep up with the graphics cards because I don't know the progression of graphics cards. Listen, back when we had GeForce 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where I draw. Then we started going off of that. I'm done.